Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, the host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing today? I trust we are all doing fine. Anyway, folks, we got to get started here. But before we get started, I got to rearrange some screens to make sure everything is in order, that I can actually see things the way they are. You know, the way we were. Not the way we were, but the way we are. And I am doing that as we speak. And this morning we couldn't connect. Now, actually, it wasn't our fault. So those of you who are here, recognize, please, it was not our fault that we could not communicate with Substack. So what I'm doing now is seeing if we are in fact connected to Substack. And guess what? We are. How are my peeps doing? I miss all my Substackers this morning. I trust everybody is okay now. Because guess what? You get to watch the 3 o'clock version of Politics Done Right. Anyway. Let me go ahead and get started and pull a few things up here as we try a few things. Anyhow, it just call your own show. Eric, Eric is reminded me that I can just call the show. You know, that could be right, Eric. I could just call the show. I could just call the show, right? All right, let's see what else I've got here before I move any further. Let's see. Welcome aboard, Cheryl Elkins. How you doing? Yes, I'm back. Bobby K is in the house. Says hola. Lynette is in the house. Shirley Figueroa. Arturo Dominguez. ¿Cómo estás, mi hermano? We also have Joe from Los Angeles, California in the house. We have, I think, Lynette PA, right? Bob Altop. Welcome aboard. Patrick Magner is in the house from Houston, Texas. And he beat out El Señor AVQ from Brooklyn, New York today. If in Michael Rudnin. We also have, of course, Michael has some shorts for us this morning. And you know what I'm going to do today? I know, Michael, I know you're playing, and I'm going to be playing some more. Michael gave me hell for not playing his shorts yesterday. You know, I'm kidding. He was just kidding too. You know, but we're going to have some fun here. Let's see if it works, Michael. I think I fixed it yesterday. All right. I think I fixed it beforehand. Eric Hayes from Kingwood is in the house. Yvette Avery Herod, Atlanta, Georgia is in the house. Paul Fleming, Powder Springs, Georgia is in the house. Lita Bearcat, Austin, Texas is in the house. Who else is in the house? Para ver quién más. Don't forget, guys, Cheryl Elkins is announcing it early. She is a sponsor of it. It is the coffee, Zoom coffee with Egberto. I'm putting it in both chats right now. Michael, I know you were, man. You're my brother. You know that, man. You're my brother from another mother. All right. Let's see who else is in here. If I missed you, just drop me a line again and I'll fix you up. Lynette says, yes, I'm from PA. It's sunny today, but not warm. LOL here in Northeast PA. Well, you know, Texas, it's hot. I have to cut off shorts. I have cut off shorts on. What does that mean, cut off shorts on? Oh, you have cut off. Shouldn't you be working, buddy? Uh, shouldn't you be out there in the field managing all those people? Ruth, welcome aboard. All right, let me see if I can get one of the shorts from Brother Rudnin out now. Trump planning Iran ground invasion. That one is kind of long. Is that 165 seconds? Let me try the 70-second one. How the U.S. could fall. I like the sound of that. I don't want my country to fall, but I hear what you're saying there. Let's see. Is it? I think this is the one here, right? Let's see. I think you put links first, or is it? Okay, no. It's how the U.S. could fall. I think this is the one here. I'm going to try to play that, Michael, and let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. And if it works, I am a happy man. That means I actually got the problem solved. Let's go ahead and put that onto the screen. I think I can put it here. No, let's cover my face. Let's do that. There we go. Okay. According to that, it's not playing yet, but let me go in here and see that I have that connection made. I thought I tested it at KPFT today, and I thought I had it working. Bear with me one quick second. It could just be me. It could just be me. Let's see. Let's try that one more time. Okay. No, it's not working. Wait a minute. I am pissed now. I had it working earlier and I forget what was my connective tissue here. If I don't get it working this time, I promise you I'll get it working by tomorrow. But let me go ahead and check one other parameter before I just go ahead and give up. I will check one more parameter before I just go ahead and give up. Let me go ahead and play it one more time. See if it, I'm gonna try it. Let's see. No, it's not. It's not going into the right channel. It's not going into the right channel. Sorry about that, Rodnan. I'll get that fixed a little bit later. But we got a lot to talk about today. I tell you what, I did a piece with WBAI that I want to bring in. I'm going to bring that in now, and then let me think about this other stuff here. So let's go ahead and bring the piece in that I did with WBAI in New York because it kind of covers what's going on today. If I can get to that channel right this minute, maybe that'll play. Who knows? The way things are working, who the hell knows?
Cuba right now is in very bad shape. They're talking to Marco, and we'll be doing something with Cuba very soon.
Mr. President.
We're really focused on this, but we're dealing with Cuba. Marco, do you want to say a couple of words about it?
The bottom line is their economy doesn't work. It's a non-functional economy. It's an economy that has survived. That revolution, it's not even a revolution, that thing they have has survived on subsidies from the Soviet Union and now from Venezuela. They don't get subsidies anymore, so they're in a lot of trouble. And the people in charge, they don't know how to fix it. So they have to get new people in charge.
President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio were speaking at an Oval Office press conference on Tuesday. So here to help break down where all of this is heading, along with the latest on Iran, the government shutdown, and the deployment starting today of ICE agents across U.S. airports, is our political panel. I'd like to welcome in Laura Jadid, a writer at firewalledmedia.com and an Army veteran of 2 tours in the war in Afghanistan, Egberto Willies, host of KPFT's Politics Done Right, and Dave Leventhal, a Washington, D.C. correspondent and senior editor at Notice. Good morning and welcome, everyone.
Good morning, Jenna.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
It's another beautiful week.
Yeah, it's definitely another week. There's a lot to take in here. And with all of that, Egberto, would you like to weigh in on this as well?
Yeah, I mean, I the first thing about it is when I listened to the piece that you played earlier, and they talk about the Cuban economy is a failed economy. It is, how do you say that? You are causing the economy to fail. And then after you cause the economy to fail by preventing other countries from going in and doing business with you, after you have prohibited Mexico and Venezuela from giving them oil, let's remember something. It is false to say that somehow their economy cannot stand on its own, even as we have used the SWIFT system to prevent monies from going into Cuba. What Cuba has done is gone around that system, or in the past, gone around that system to work with Venezuela and other countries where they bartered their knowledge. They are a huge knowledge-based country. They bartered their engineers. They bartered their doctors. They bartered all these professional people around the world, to Africa, to Latin America, to the Caribbean. And what has the United States done? It has gone to every single one of those countries that are bartering knowledge with Cuba and others and tell them, you must sever your contacts with Cuba or come to some other arrangement with Cuba, doing everything to destroy their economy, destroy their method of commerce and everything, and then say, oh, they're a failed economy. We are causing them to fail.
Well, I was going to say, I would assume that the president and secretary of state would also say that, look, Cuba's national electrical grid has collapsed for the second time in a week. That is further proof that they are a failed state.
There is a lot of sabotage that is going on from our resources into Cuba. Many of these things are done in ways that we don't understand. How could it fail in the manner that it failed? Cuba, the infrastructure failure and anything that has failed is because of a lack of funds. And the lack of funds isn't because of Cubans on ingenuity. It is because that has been imposed on them. And until Americans really understand that we are the ones that are harming a lot of these countries who have decided to go through a different path for their economy, a different path for their political system, it's none of our business, but we have decided to harm them because they didn't decide to do things the way we told them to do it.
All right, Egberto, Israel has continued to ramp up its attacks on Lebanon and other Gulf states, just as President Trump appears, at least to some degree, to be attempting to calm the waters. Again, seems to be. Are we seeing different objectives with this war from U.S. and Israel?
Here's how the different objective goes. We have no objective. Israel wants to decapitate Iran. That's what they want to do. And we are Israel's, or I don't want to say Israel because I should say we are Netanyahu's pawn. Netanyahu tells us what to do and we oblige. No other president has ever attempted to really have a major influx into Iran because we understand that Iran is no Iraq. It's a huge country, 2.5 times the size of Texas. Moreover, this is a civilization that has existed longer than ours. This is a civilization of intellects. The reason they can get ballistic missiles into Israel, and in fact, that is what really has caused Donald Trump to tackle. He is tackling because Iran showed that it could get through the defenses of Israel and go into a couple of miles or a few places away from their own nuclear stations in Israel. Iran showed that in as much as Trump and all of these others have been constantly saying, we are degrading Iran, we're degrading Iran, they are also responded at will. Iran is taking a whole lot of pain. They're taking a whole lot of debts. We are murdering a whole lot of Iranians, but Iranians are fighting back. And that is what shocked them, and it even shocked Israel.
So with that, Egberto, I want to turn to the government shutdown now in its 38th day. Who currently has the political advantage in this shutdown from your perspective? Like, who's got the upper hand here? Is it the Democrats? Is it the Republicans? Is it ICE agents who are getting paid regardless? Or who do you see having the upper hand?
Now, Democrats should have the upper hand if they played the game like Greg Casar did in Austin, Texas, where there were very long lines and he goes out there to speak to the people. I don't remember if it was Austin or DC. I can't remember which airport it was, but the very long lines that was there. And as the people were standing there, he's out there telling them exactly why the lines are long. Because people don't know. Donald Trump can go on to national TV and say, the Democrats won't pass a bill. And that is the narrative right now. The Democrats are holding back the bill until they get ICE to behave accordingly. But that's not the narrative. The narrative should be, We want to pay ICE. We want to pay all these guys. The Republicans refuse to do that because they want ICE officers to wear masks. They want they're playing it completely wrong, Jenna. The Democrats should be out there stating it's the Republicans who are keeping the people unpaid and the lines long. It needs to be said affirmatively and not in some fashion that says, oh, well, we are holding back the bill until they take the masks off of ICE, until they take away the administrative warrants. The narrative is all wrong. But again, it is in the Democrats' hands to decide if they want to win the narrative war on this issue.
All right. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but I'd like to thank the panel. You just heard from Laura Jadid, a writer at firewalltomedia.com and an Army veteran of 2 tours in the war in Afghanistan, Egberto Willies, host of KPFT's Politics Done Right, and Dave Leventhal, a Washington, D.C. correspondent and senior editor at Notice. Thank you all.
All right, whenever I finished putting the whole blog together, you can see what everybody else had to say in the entire panel, and we do this panel every Monday. Let's see, Michael Ruddin, thank you for reminding me to say this. I need to say this every single day. March 28th, this Saturday, is expected to break 12 million in attendance, over 3.5% of the population. For your local rally, be there this Saturday. Remember, that magic number 3.5 is where protest is actually absolutely successful. That 3.5%, I think, is the number, right, Michael? That 3.5% is a magical number we want. So let's make sure we get the 12 million people, because I tell you what, if we get under 10 million people, the right wing is going to say, oh, they're faltering. We can't let that happen. Over 3,000 events around the country. Some of them will be very large. Houston, Austin, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Those will be the big ones throughout the country. It will be great. Eric, you can go mow your lawn as we mow down the misinformation that you're the guy that you treasonously voted for continues to take us down a destructive path to end of the American civilization as we know it. Welcome aboard, John Cotter, my brother from another mother. How you doing? Flying those big birds. I trust you are in town. Austin, he trolled Corey. Yeah, it was in Austin. Okay, thank you for telling me. I didn't remember if it was in Austin or DC. But yeah, glad to hear that. Shirley Figueroa, welcome aboard. Let's see. Cyril Elkin says, changing subject. Epstein, Le Mans, reporting French prosecutors search Paris branch of Swiss Rothschild Bank in Epstein-linked probe. That's interesting. I wonder what that is all about. Israeli government is a war criminal from John Cotter. I agree 100%. Astadion asks, how are those peace talks coming? Are there any peace talks for real? I don't know. I really don't know, but who knows? Maybe so. Commander Tool, welcome aboard. I think I see Commander in. Shirley Figueroa says, watch Malcolm Nance, Black Man Spy, every AM at 9 a.m. He gives a review of what has happened overnight in Iran. Yep, I didn't know that he was doing it on every morning, but that is good to know. Thank you for that info. Chris Sampson, who is in he used to be a correspondent at KPFT. He now lives in Ukraine, and he used to work with Malcolm Nance in Ukraine, because Malcolm Nance was a part of the army out there for a while. He fought alongside the Ukrainians out there, and Chris was his wingman with the camera and all that kind of stuff. Cheryl Elkins says, every morning 1 to 1.5 hours at 8 a.m. Central Time. Thank you, sis. All right, what else have we got here? So don't forget, guys, this Saturday, it's important. This Saturday, show up. I'll be showing up at the No Kings in Kingwood, and I'll be doing interviews in galore, talking to you folks to let me know what you want to put out there. And of course, a lot of what you tell me will be played on KPFT 90.1 FM and many other of our affiliate stations who pick up the feed off of our audio report server. So if you want to say your piece, if I don't find you, find me, and we'll go ahead and we'll talk. By the way, hey, Cotter, which one are you going to on Saturday? Which No Kings? Are you going to the one downtown? You coming to Kingwood, or is there one in Humble? I'm not sure. Um, Let me know. Patrick says peace talks are impossible by the system Iran adopted. The military is described as an autonomous system that cannot be shut off. Amazing, right? In other words, you go kill the heads. You know, we are so smart, Patrick. You kill the heads, and then what happens? And by the way, Patrick, which one are you going to? Which No Kings are you going to, Patrick? Paul Fleming says a U.S. general casually admits on live TV that the entire diplomatic mission to end a catastrophic global war has been handed to Jewish Israeli dual citizen real estate developers Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They literally have no experts left in the administration. Total incompetence are agents for Israeli interests. What does it look like to you? You ever thought about both? So I'll see you on Saturday. My brother Patrick will be in Kingwood. And let LBW just join us. LBW, are you going to be coming out in Kingwood to the No Kings? Let's see. As Stadium says, I'm confident now. Peace is coming. Are you being sarcastic? Are you being sarcastic? All right. Let's see what else I got to go before I finish reading. I think I'm done reading all the things that you guys want me to say. If I'm not, just throw it in the bottom of the link. But I have another video that I want you to actually, no, before I do the video with tacos and fritter. Oh God, you're gonna mess me up. You're gonna mess my diet up, Patrick. But you know what? I won't dare stop you, brother. An apple fritter and a taco any day for me, man. An apple fritter and a taco any day for me. Anyway, let me tell you. Hi, y'all. I am trying to come up with a good sign design for Saturday. So crowdsource it. Ask people to help you out right here, LBW. I am terrible at those signs, but you know who's great at it? Cindy Hendrickson, who is our leader here in Indivisible Kingwood. She comes up with some stuff. I don't know where she gets some of that stuff from. And I also, well, she's not with us anymore, but she used to do really good signs. But Vicky also does some very good signs. Anyway, look, I have a project that I'm starting to work on with two other great guys, a professor at Rutgers and a writer and a labor activist. We formed a group. I can't. Well, actually, since I'm gonna read one of his stuff right now, I can tell you who he is. It's Professor Michael Merrill. He wrote an article. We were talking today on one of our Zoom meetings, and you know, he just happened to tell me about an article he wrote a while back. And I said, wait a minute, because we were having our meeting organizing this new project that we're working on, and I think you guys are gonna love it. And anyway, I said, you know what? I'm supposed to be preparing my show right now, but we are in this meeting. That article that you wrote, I want it because my audience is gonna love it. And I want to read parts of it right now for you. It's called What American Workers Are Owed. And it goes as follows. President Obama has proposed to build a new economy, and it's a bit dated, but actually current. President Obama has proposed to build a new economy for the American middle class, but neither he nor his advisors have presented either a plausible plan to do so or believable explanation for how it got into trouble in the first place. In his much heralded economic address at Knox College in July, for example, the president eloquently described the growing gap between the rising average productivity of the worker and its decline in real income. The only solution he offered to close the gap, however, is belied by the gap itself. American workers would earn more, he insisted, if they become more productive, retooling themselves for the new economy, perhaps by going to school to acquire skills required to be more competitive in the 21st century. But if his own evidence is to be believed and no one has questioned it, that is exactly what they have been doing, becoming more and more productive, and they have been doing so for years. The only thing they are not becoming is better off. They're working harder and making less than ever before. Clearly, just retooling for the 21st century is no guarantee of either a steady job or a fair wage. What else has to happen if the American economy is going to have a world class workforce and is going to pay if it's world class wages? On this question, President Obama has almost nothing to say. He says he wants the economy to build out, but all he can offer is trickle down. And that is something we've been talking about for decades. All the presidents since Reagan, yes, they have been, all the Democratic presidents since Reagan, yes, they've been good, but they have not dispelled themselves of neoliberalism or supply side economics. He promises to talk and work with anyone, CEOs, university presidents, labor leaders, even Republicans who want, as he does, to make America work for working Americans again. But all he offers to talk about are tired Nostrums, the same solutions that CEOs and Republicans, not to mention, unfortunately, university presidents, and even a few labor leaders who ought to know better, have been pushing for years. If increased productivity were enough to ensure higher wages, then American workers would be a lot better off. The problem is not they are not productive. The problem is they have lost the positional advantage required to ensure they are paid what they are worth. Remember, we've talked about that before. They have been shackled to a losing position in a winner take all economy and denied every reasonable way to fight back. Unions would help, especially in the woefully underrepresented service sector where most people work. But the president barely mentioned the service sector, and he said nothing about how the government might make it easier for workers who want unions to organize them. Amazing. Neither did he say anything about how the already very productive American workforce might go about recovering even a portion of the hundreds of millions of dollars in back wages they are owed for their productive contributions over the last generation. By my admittedly rough and ready calculations, the average 55-year-old American worker, listen to this, guys, the average 55-year-old working American is owed an average. You ready? You ready for this number? $530,000 in back wages. Basically, the area of the triangle formed by divergent trend lines of productivity and wages referenced by President. Let me tell you, it's better. Dr. Richard Wolff, economist Richard Wolff, pointed this out. That is where I went from being what I would call a soft capitalist to one who understands, who hates capitalism, who understands that capitalism is nothing but theft. It's nothing but theft. And anybody that tries to tell you otherwise, one of two positions: they don't understand it, or they themselves are okay with having a system that where a small amount of people can work on the backs of everybody else. Basically, this is the additional amount such workers would have earned during the last 30 or so years if they had been continuously employed and average wages had kept pace with average productivity. It's better than that, though, because I don't think what my brother included, the professor included here, I don't think it included the time value of money amortized. If they amortize that amount of money not paid, I think it would be even more. And the gap has grown. The losses have mounted. More than half of the total amount lost has been lost during the Obama administration. So, sure, it inherited the problem, but it also has done very little to reverse or even to slow it down. Because you know why it's done? They're scared because the solution to the problem they are patently scared that somebody is going to say you're a socialist. There are things the administration could have done and could do now. The Free Choice Act would have been a start, as it would have sent a signal that the president, as that this president too, like FDR before him, wanted Americans to join a union. But President Obama could also have reasonably proposed even more drastic action. For example, that the federal government become the employer of last resort, as many local governments were in the 1900s and the 20th centuries. Finally, are willing and able to offer a job, useful work at a living wage to everyone who needs it. Of course, to do so would have to be willing to talk about a public option, not only with regard to education, transportation, communication, the military, and the law, but also with respect to healthcare, sanitation, reclamation, conservation, exploration, and arts, which he has shown no interest at all. Unfortunately, the president has sounded the completely different horns of self-reliance and up by your bootstraps, something that never was possible ever. Try lifting yourself up by your bootstrap. It was a joke. It was never intended to mean anything. If you have your boots on and you pull the straps, you can't lift yourself up. Madre mia carajo. The notion that the federal government ought to become the American employer of last resort is not a new idea, nor is without intellectually respectable defenders. On the contrary, it has been around for a while and enjoys a devoted following, the most prominent of which are the economists affiliated with the Center of Full Employment and Price Stability at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Two objections such scheme could come immediately to mind. The first is that guaranteeing everyone who wants to work a job is un-American. That's not true. If I heard him right, that is essentially the president's position. But what's the difference really between guaranteeing every American access to speedy trial or clean water and guaranteeing them access to a useful job at a living wage? Sure, there are worse ways to and better ways of guaranteeing a useful job at living wage at last resort. And ideally, the private sector supplies all or most of them. But you know what? The private sector has failed. The private sector by design has failed. And the reason the private sector has failed is not that the private sector can't do it, it is not in their interest to do so. Before I go to the last video, though, our poet laureate has a limerick. Brother Zornick, it's about time. I haven't read it yet, but I'm about to read it for the first time. So if I make any mistakes, guys, forgive me. But you know we love our brothers. He said it's a lengthy. Oh, you used one with imbecile. Yesterday, you remember on the show when I was saying the president is an imbecile and fit the true definition? I said, I wish our poet laureate would create one with imbecile. Huh. And he did. I love you, my man. Let's get busy. Here we go. First read. Reading the news about ice made me stop to think. The best kind of ice is a frozen cube floating in my drink. Another type of ice you'll find sliding beneath your feet. That's okay with ice skates on or if each shoe has a cleat. A third kind of ice is an internal combustion engine, producing toxic fumes and climate change apprehension. But the worst type of ice is immigration and custom enforcement. Goons and thugs in camo of every size and assortment, creating terror and fear both far and near, causing good friends and neighbors to disappear. Abducting honest immigrants is inhumane and criminal, whether at work, in school, or in an airport terminal. Innocent victims tackled and tortured by masked men with identities invisible. Such lawless deportment should have no one's consent, support, or endorsement, except by someone who is ruthless or evil, clueless, or an imbecile. Each suspect detained has the right to remain silent, then plead their case to a judge face to face without regard to color, culture, religion, or race. Meanwhile, we hope you're safe wherever you stay. So smile and be peaceful, but don't have a nice day. Ha! You did it once again, my brother. Folks, that was written entirely by the one and only Politics Done Right poet laureate, El Señor Zornick. That was Thomas Zornick, Tom Zornick. And to which John Cotter says, well done, sir. Patrick says, I would assume that above and beyond, we are owed the interest and fees on the loans we have had to take out and the retirement we have had to access during billionaire-induced economic crashes. I think so. But that, you know what, Patrick? But that even that is not included in the number. Steingen Bergen Greek says, read this today at Daily Kos. Excellent article on why the SAVE Act will likely backfire on the Nazi party. Okay, I better set that up for a read. Thank you for that, beautiful. Let's see if I can put that on the screen. Could the Save America Act be a massive own goal for the GOP? You know something? I could give some reasons why that could be. Well, I think you mean that it'll backfire on them. I haven't read the article, but I think that's what you mean. I've thought that, and you can tell me if that's what it is. But, you know, the people, in general, MAGA is poorer than progressives or even the urban folks. Not only that, the urban folks probably have easier access to get birth certificates, etc., than rural folks. So you may actually be right. I'm assuming that I'm, just from your headline, that's my assumption. But I could be wrong in that is what you mean. But anyway, I have one last video. This one I cut from what I did this morning, cleaned it up a bit. So let me go ahead and play that now, and then we'll take it on the other side. This morning, listening to Morning Joe showed a problem that we as Americans have. And I'm going to play it. And I hope some of you, before I go to the two interviews, would call in and tell me if you see the presumptuousness and you see the problem in not only this type of reporting, but that this is what how our government thinks. It's a 3 change minute piece from Morning Joe that I just screen grabbed. So it's not really produced or processed or anything, but I want you guys to see it and listen to it, and then we'll take it on the other side.
The Trump administration is actually eyeing as a potential partner and perhaps even a future leader of that country. What more can you tell us?
Yeah. Hey, Willie. Hey, guys. Good morning. You set up the context perfectly for why this is so complicated for the White House. Now, let me bring you into the White House thinking in this moment and how they are viewing this. To Hagar's point, they are not looking at opposition-backed transition right now. They are not looking to bring in an outsider. In fact, officials I spoke to told me Reza Pahlavi, the exiled prince that some people are looking to as a potential leader, that is not on the table for somebody that the U.S. would back. Instead, they are looking right now at the Speaker of Parliament as a potential partner for the United States and possibly a leader that the United States could work with. Now, you talked about the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard. He's a former IRGC commander. He is a power broker, and he is not a moderate necessarily, again, to Hagar's point. But this is somebody that the United States believes might be someone on the inside that could potentially have a pragmatic streak and be willing to make a deal with the United States. I keep hearing the Venezuela comparisons. In fact, both officials that I spoke to made those parallels where they did not go with a Maria Machado, the leader of the opposition. They kept a regime leader in place. They made a deal, and then they made a deal on oil, which is another piece that the president is interested in, and that's partially why you've seen him be so careful when it comes to Karg Island, where a lot of Iran's oil infrastructure is. He's hoping that he can make a peace deal and then make a deal to get the U.S. some hands on that oil. So again, that Speaker of Parliament right now is, as one official told me, the hot option, but they are testing potential options. Now, whether or not the U.S. is in fact in a position to decide who the next leader is, that's a big question. But right now, the president thinks that he is in that position. And one of the warnings that officials told me is, look, if we're going to test these leaders, it might be the speaker, it might not. If they're too radical, we'll take them out. We've already taken out a bunch of their leaders.
So, Dasha, again, in your piece, some of the sources you talked to make the Venezuela comparison, saying we get rid of Maduro, we bring in Delcy Rodriguez, who is the vice president under Maduro. We find her to be a more acceptable option, but still kind of a part of the regime there. Is that sort of the thinking here, that this Speaker of the Parliament would be acceptable not only to the United States, but perhaps to some of the leadership in Iran as well?
Yeah, I mean, those words were used with me by these officials, Willie. If we are looking for the Delcy Rodriguez of Iran. Now, of course, these are two vastly different situations. In Venezuela, you do have sort of a more pragmatic approach, transactional approach. In Iran, there's ideology that plays in that you can't make the same sort of comparisons with, but that is how they see the speaker in this moment. Now, of course, you said, the speaker went to X and posted that there are no talks going on, no negotiations going on. My sources say that's posturing for internal purposes. But that they don't at this point want full regime collapse. What you heard from the president earlier in this conflict of getting the people to rise up, kind of implying he wants to see a democratic revolution. That's not the place that they're in right now. This is not democratic revolution. This is not getting an opposition figure installed and a full reset for the regime. This is trying to continue on with someone in the regime that's willing to work with the United States.
The Trump administration.
Now, my question to you is, who give us the right? Who give us the right to decide who is going to be running Venezuela? Who gives us the right to determine who is going to run Iran? Who gives us the right to decide if we are going to accept X or Y deal on oil with Iran or Venezuela? Who gives us the right to say, if you don't choose a leader acceptable to us, as she said, they'll just knock him off? And let me tell you what, look, that Donald Trump thinks that way, it's understandable because, again, we know he's a thug, a childish imbecile, etc. But you listen to how these reporters speak about this issue. They make it seem like so matter of fact, yet it is our job to decide, okay, Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela is acceptable to us. Yeah, the Pavesi, I forgot how to say his name. Here, the son of the Shah, the ex-Shah. Nah, he's not acceptable to us at this time, even though at one time he was. Well, maybe the Speaker of the Parliament is going to be okay with us. But if he turns out to be too radical, we'll just knock him off. The presumptuousness. And you see the rest of the world looks at that and says, who the hell do you think you are to tell us what to do? You are several thousand miles away. This is our land, and you're going to tell us that? Same in Venezuela. Why? Because you have the big bomb. Because you have the big military. That's what gives you the right. Do you think you have the moral authority? You don't. We don't have the moral authority. We are no more moral than any of these countries we want to overturn. We're just different. Our sins are just different. But the presumptuousness of this, and as I'm listening to this, my blood is boiling because that's a reflection of all of us. To have a group of reporters that speak this way, in other words, make it so matter of fact, we just knock him off. That's what this young reporter said. Well, they said they'll just knock him off if they don't like the leader that they choose. Do you understand what that sounds like? Understand when we talk about blowback, folks, it's talk like this. And when we talk about how they harmed us and what the terrorist is doing to us, etc., when we knock somebody off, that is a classic definition of terrorism. We're trying to change a political order by violence. That's terrorism. So when we talk about the biggest terrorist state, we are behaving like the largest, most powerful terrorist state. What Israel did to Gaza, that was not only genocide, but that was also terrorism. Let's get our nomenclature or terminology straight, because that is really the answer. I can't explain how my blood was born, because I mean, it's not only that. Okay, we understand Trump. We understand those right wing nutcases, because that's what they are, right wing nutcases who try to illustrate their manhood by harming people they consider lesser than because of their own insecurities. But my God, for this young reporter, I would have expected her, if she's going to say, "Oh, they'll just knock him off," to at least say, "And can you believe they actually said knock him off?" She should have shown some sort of um, like, that's a problem. We are the fourth estate. That's a problem. Morning Joe should be like, "Did they say that? We just knocked them off." Yeah, and Cheryl, manifest destiny. Yeah, manifest destiny. I remember when I learned about man, and believe it or not, I learned about manifest destiny, as a matter of fact, in my 11th grade class in Panama, because my last 2 years in Panama was at an American school on the Canal Zone. And that's where we learn, in our Latin American schools, we learn world history. And America was just one of the countries in the world whose histories we learned. We had to learn histories of every major country. We had to know things like the capitals of every country in the world. You had more then, or actually you had less, because Yugoslavia had less countries. I mean, Yugoslavia was a conglomerate of countries. USSR was a conglomerate of countries. But we only had to know that. But anyway, we had to know every single capital of the world. We had to know the geography of the world. I mean, in the Latin American schools. And then when we went to the American schools on the Canal Zone, the only history we got was American history. And then we learned it from, and the history was taught. Our teachers in the American schools in Panama taught history very well, according to, what the book said, etc. They didn't sugarcoat slavery. They didn't sugarcoat what was done to the natives, but it was just spoken in a matter of fact. There was no judgment, but we learned it. I think there should have been judgment, but there was no judgment. It was just, this is what happened, right? Now, the right wing doesn't even want you to just know what happened. They want to change what happened. They want to tell you that, oh, those people were immigrants. Slaves were immigrants who learned skills by being slaves. Oh, Lord. So, I mean, but you get the point. I I just don't know or understand how the mainstream media can report the news as they report it. I have been getting all of my Iraq news. Right now, I have MS Now on to catch up with sort of what the local stuff is saying. But the best news with the best intellectual minds talking about blowback and all of that, and how this what Donald Trump is doing is affecting every country in the world. You have to turn to Al Jazeera to see it. You know, I turn to Al Jazeera. I mean, do you know that Philippines are in an energy crisis right now, and the Philippines are saying rationing, and there's a particular alert that they have, that they've been set up to. Do you know that Angola, how this is affecting folks in Angola right now? How it's affecting folks in Eritrea right now? I mean, all of this stuff that Americans should understand, that what the mess that Donald Trump, this one imbecile, is making to the rest of the world, and and how the rest of the world is suffering through this one thing. And Americans don't know this. So a lot of people are Americans, they're bad. No, they just don't know. They just don't know. And it's not just what's happening in the Middle East now. It's what every country is going through in Indonesia, Africa, the Pacific, etc. Because we've stopped the flow. LBW says, just seeing headlines that DT has approved to send at least 1,000 more troops towards Iran. He's sending a lot of these guys to their ultimate deaths. Look, for us, it's just following orders. For those soldiers, it's just following orders. For Iranians, it is existential. And when you fight in extensionalism versus following orders, extensionalism wins because you're going all out and you inflict a hell of a lot of pain. And in the process of doing this, if we destroy enough infrastructure, it's not the dead Americans that is going to be the most dead in the world or the dead Iranians. It's going to be about what we have inflicted on the rest of the world. Intelligence is widely distributed. Lynette says, let's see. We see everything from our point of view. What is that called? American exceptionalism. Uh, it, it- Let me tell you, though, the thing about it, the good thing about it is this, right? While the mainstream media is not doing its job and informing people, what happens that we have to be careful of, or that we have to be cognizant of, is that we can actually make a difference. U.S. soldiers are trying to refuse to fight. Yeah, I found out that there are a lot of them that are taking up on the there's a procedure that you take up called what is it called? Come on, guys. I know my geniuses are going to tell me right now where you decide objection, some sort of an objection, religious objection, but it's not religious objection, moral objection or something of that nature. Many have already started to sign up because if things get the way many think it's going to get, they're fearful that eventually we're going to have conscientious objector. Thank you about that. Conscientious conscientious objector. March KJ says, "Have you forgotten who is really in charge? The white the news you are watching is propaganda." Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Oh, let's see what else we got. March K said, "Have you forgotten who's really in charge? The whiny white rich POS Republicans. The news you're watching is propaganda." Welcome aboard, John LK. Welcome to Politics Done Right. We're almost near the end of the program. Anybody wants to call in, give me a call at 281-823-7747. The other two videos I have are politicians, and the thing about it is that it's too long for me to play now. Elkin says, "I urge you all to listen to the last 40 minutes of Malcolm Nance's daily briefing today. There are a lot more than 1,000 troops heading into theater." I'll go ahead and copy that. Thank you for that. You said the last 40 minutes. We'll do that. We will do that. Thank you for that, sis. Um, it is crazy, but look, not because, how should I say this? Let me put this where I can put it with the other stuff that I have. Not because this is what they want to do means they should do it, right? Or that they will do it or can do it. Okay? What we can do is we can put the pressure on, and I think that can start right there on Saturday. If enough people show up, and in along with the economic message, the no war message is out there, we will do just fine. We will do just fine. So I mean, it is amazing. But anyhow, um, anyway, I got about 3 minutes left. Anybody want to call me? I don't have any more videos to show. The other two videos are too long to play. One is the former mayor of Houston, who I played this morning. I'll probably play her tomorrow. And the other one is Judge Armstrong, Beverly Armstrong. Anyway, the number is para ver 281-823-7747. Who wants to be maybe the only call of the day? 281-823-7747. While I wait to see if a call comes in, I can give a quick promo for myself. Cyril Elkin says, my husband is conscientious objector. Is a conscientious objector. These poor soldiers. There we go. Oh, we got 2 calls that came in. Wow, all at once. Let me connect them all. Oh, so it looks like it looks like I got 2 calls, right? Come on in, guys. Who's on?
Ray,
Ray, how you doing, Ray?
I'm good. I'm good. Just wrapping up the day with you, Egberto. Unfortunately, I don't have a car anymore because of a accident, but that's a story for another day. But
Oh,
anyway,
I'm so
man,
sorry. Did you
this
get
war
hurt?
stuff. I'm okay. I'm okay.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, sorry to hear that, brother.
yeah. But in any case, back to the topic itself. I'll
Yes.
be honest. I've never been a fan of, or I wouldn't say a fan. I've never been an avid follower of foreign policy, as far as what's going on in the Middle East and everything
Hold on
like
a
that.
second. Let,
But
let, let me go ahead and tie these calls together because we have 2 calls. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
I do know this. What Brother George Carlin said is very is very accurate. I was gonna send you that link from Instagram. It's actually bleeped out, so you could play it on the radio if you like. But it was a clip of him saying, why are we so good at war? Because we get a lot of practice, especially when it's a country full of brown people, And I was like, man, George Carlin was a martyr, He was ahead of his time, and it's so sad that that came out in like the 90s or the 2000s, and
I
we're
love
still
me.
here
Yeah.
doing the same thing. Every 20 years, he say
I
we
know.
have
You
a
know, I
major
love
war, and
me.
it happens.
Let me get I think it is Bobby on the other line, but you know what, before Bobby comes in, let me tell you something, Ray. My wife, every time George Carlin comes out with a book, one of his book of jokes, she would buy it for me. I have all his stuff. I love me some George Carlin. That guy is great. He's a scholar in the way he does his jokes. Let's go to Bobby. Come on in, Bobby.
Hey, good afternoon. I'll make this real quick. I know you're almost out of time. I had seen this thing. It was actually on Substack. It was just some footage from the Vietnam War, and it was,
Hmm.
like a young kid, 18, 19 years old in the jungle, and he's kind of beat up looking and tired. And they're, they have, the news coverage embedded with them, and they're like, if you could tell somebody 50 years in the future anything, what would you tell them? And the kid looks at the camera and he goes, "Don't send your sons and daughters to finish what your politicians started."
Yes.
And I don't
Yes,
know.
I
It just
agree
kind of
with.
stuck with me.
And you know what? I think you're pretty young. Let me
Point.
tell you something, brother. Uh, do not go and fight these people's wars. It has nothing to do with being American or us being American. Let MAGA go fight since they are the ones who voted this stuff in. They voted this imbecile in. I hate to say it this way, right? But they voted. Let them finish the traitorous job, the treasonous job is what I should say. But good folks, we should not be losing good folks to this imbecile at all. I'm sorry to speak this badly, but you're right. Ray, anything else you want to say to close out, brother?
Oh, I'll just finish out the monologue. Basically, he said, when it comes to war, basically we like war because we're good at it. We get a lot of practice. We don't seem to be good at anything else, like feeding the poor, housing the poor, making sure everyone has health care, building a decent car, things like that, and so on. But he's right. Yeah, if we would put our energy in other efforts of life, like you
Yes,
say, a social democracy, we might actually be that number one country we claim to be, and that's where I
absolutely.
am.
Thank you, my brother. I gotta go, Ray, and thank you for calling in, Bobby. Love you guys. You guys make this what it is. Anyway, let me tell you. Let me just do my quick pitch here, and that is, please support the
All
program.
parties have disconnected the line.
Well, thank you. Let me just say this. Please support the program. We need your support to keep bringing you the stuff, to keep interviewing the stuff. Look, I got 23 interviews that I got to go process that I did over the weekend. It was a crazy weekend, like I explained to my folks on KPFT this morning. Please support the program. Easy to do. Just go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. For those of you that are not on Substack, just go to politicsandright.com/newsletter and subscribe to our Substack. And a paid subscription is cheap, and what it does is it helps continue the project. I'm working on another project all of you are gonna like. Can't quite tell you about it completely right now, but it is with two other folk, and you are going to love it. Anyway, please support the program however you can. One more time, politicsandright.com/newsletter. But if you are already on Substack, click that subscribe button. Of course, all of my blogs are free, because ultimately I want everybody to read everything that they can of what I put out there. I mean, I put a lot into that. I want folks to read it and for us to be together educated, right? But those of you who have the wherewithal, I would love if you become paid subscribers. I don't charge for my articles, etc. Like a lot of Substacks give you 2 paragraphs and then you have to pay. I tried that, and it just didn't feel right, because it was like, but I want people to have this stuff. I want them to read it so we can make a difference. So it's all out there. So I just depend on folks saying, I have an extra stuff a month. I'll support the program. Thank you very much, guys. I got to get out of here. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.